Welcome back into sports, everyone. Happy Sunday. But we want to go back to yesterday, on Saturday, the Alabama versus LSU game. You know, it was a scene out here, welcome to Death Valley. And Alabama got a good welcome, and they kind of made themselves at home in this one. You know, 42 points hung on LSU. And, you know, Brian Kelly said last week they can't defend a running quarterback, and you can win against the best one in college football. He showed it. 4 touchdowns on the night, and it was just a night where LSU just didn't have an answer on offense or defense. But I also want to see, you know, we got the honorary Alabama fan here, so we got to see, what did you got to see from what Alabama was able to do against this LSU offense, but also especially the defense, the way they were able to operate today?
Yeah, so the defense, ever since the beginning of the season, I always said the defense was a little bit soft, but I think why they're soft is because it's a bunch of freshmen on the defense. They lost a lot of starters, a lot of seniors that have been here for a while. But I think in this game, they really established themselves as a defensive core that can stop LSU. Not that they really had anything to stop, really. But just like Jeremy said, it was a running game for Jalen Milroe. 4 touchdowns, 185 yards for 12 carries. And he was just on fire. And they did not find a way to stop him at all.
Yeah, I also want to go back to, you know, being able with, you know, that LSU team, you know, not having that one of their best nights, but in a sense, you laid an egg tonight. You know, it wasn't good on either side of the ball. You couldn't, you know, get any traction going in the passing game. Running game, you know, it was going a little well, but then kind of abandoned it like they've done all year. But, you know, it could not have been a good atmosphere in that press conference with Brian Kelly, you know, having to go through another primetime loss, 13-0 at home, and then you lay one here. What did you kind of see from what LSU was able to do on Saturday night?
Well, I'll tell you what, Coach Brian Kelly, he talked a lot at the press conference just about, you know, the lack of execution. You mentioned, you know, they talked all week about stopping running quarterbacks, and that's something they weren't able to do again tonight with Jalen Milroe, the best in college football to do so. He also touched on just the third down conversions. You know, this is a team that Alabama was 10 of 13 on third down. Defense couldn't get off the field. Offensively, LSU was 6 of 14, I believe, on third down. It's hard to win football games. You can't convert. And a lot of times they started behind the sticks. That's big for them, is to play in front of the sticks, get that 4 or 5 yards to get going early. And when you're playing behind the sticks, this team struggles. They're putting a lot of pressure on Garrett Nussmeier, who had multiple turnovers again tonight. We've seen him do this all season long, and it kind of seems like there's so much pressure to get that run game going, or with the lack of the run game, Garrett Nussmeier is forced to do a little too much and step out of his comfort zone. Brian Kelly touched on a couple of them, said the fumble with Nussmeier, that was something he had to have both hands on the ball, but when you get in the red zone, throw a pick in the end zone. You know, you can't have that. You need to put points on the board. It's a game that Brian Kelly says, you know, they have to get better, and the great thing for him, you know, you talk about coming to this game, the playoff implications, college football playoffs. He said this is a team that wasn't coming in looking at, hey, you know, we're out of the college football playoffs, or we have to win this to get into the college football playoffs. This was a game of we have to win. And now they have that mindset, we have to win out to still give ourselves a chance to make the college football playoffs. But he wasn't, you know, obviously unhappy about the game, unhappy about the loss, but I've seen Brian Kelly, you know, early in the season more unhappy than that. I think this is a team, you know, he was proud of how the guys kept fighting for it, even down big, they kept fighting. He said this is a team that they still see the light in the tunnel. So lots of great things ahead, and I think they're focused on these last 3 weeks to finish out the season strong.
All right, you know, talking about the LSU, we want to hear what, you know, going to send it off this here, you know, some of the comments from Brian Kelly after their second loss on the road to an SEC opponent. Let's hear what Brian Kelly had to say.
If you're watching the game, you're like, what did these guys do for 2 weeks? Like, we have a scheme to stop the quarterback. We did not get that done. Take nothing away from Alabama. They played very well tonight as well. But we're dealing with a second loss now in the SEC. We now go into these last 3 games with the need to win all 3 of these games and play better football in the month of November. And you know, we've got to play cleaner football, and we've got to get off the field, certainly. Those are the 2 big takeaways for me in terms of the game itself. And then certainly, you know, some of the you know, untimely things that happened during the game that were critical, that really, you know, put us back relative to you know, the game itself. And I've said this to our team. You know, you're living on borrowed time when you keep putting yourself in those tough positions. And tonight, the dam broke. When we kept putting ourselves in those tough positions, the dam finally broke. We're disappointed in the way we performed. You know, we're not going. These guys are not like, hey, we're out of the playoffs. That's not what they're disappointed, and I'm disappointed that we didn't live up to the standards of LSU football. That affects us more than the damn playoffs.
Obviously a upset and disappointed, Brian Kelly in that press conference, but I want to go back to, we're in here in Baton Rouge. Let's go back home a little bit. Let's check on the teams that we cover on a regular basis. Tech going to overtime, having another big time loss, and score 37, but you also give up 44. Going against the #1 team in the Conference USA, and you drop another heartbreaker, another close game, and it's got to be troubling, and it's kind of at the point now in the season where it's kind of you're not really seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. But you just got to keep fighting right now. That was another tough loss for that Tech team. But also Grambling, also this time, look, on the other way around, they got in the win column. So how did you feel about them getting back, back on the right track against Alabama State, a very good team?
A very good team. I'm happy for the Tigers, and especially Mickey Joseph. I've been with him all season, been with the players all season, so I know how determined they are with winning. And, they obviously wanted to make the SWAC championship this year. Not looking too good, but the Bama State win 24-23 was a big win for the GSU Tigers, and I think it really restored some of their mental and in a good headspace, because they really needed that. Bama State is like second in SWAC East, Grambling is last in SWAC West, so it was a big win for them. And obviously I'm rooting for them, and hopefully they can continue the trend of moving forward this season. But ULM suffered a loss. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes, ULM, still looking for that 6th win, become bowl eligible, and I think we're starting to see that pressure kind of build up of, you're so close yet so far from it. Back at Malone, a good chance for ULM to get that win yesterday. And in that game, Texas State really got off to a quick start, and ULM off to a slow start. Rainy conditions, I know that plays a factor. The throwing game not as big in that game. Saw a lot of runs, but this was a Texas State team that they came out, punched ULM in the mouth, and ULM found themselves in a hole, and it was hard for them to dig out of it. Their schedule doesn't get any easier. You have Auburn next week, then you have Arkansas State, which is a good shot to win, and then ULL, which is going to be another tough game. So ULM, third straight loss in a row. I think we're starting to see some, I don't want to say discouragement. We're not seeing that same confidence we saw at the beginning of the season. Hopefully Bryant Vincent will get those guys back on track, get that confidence rebuilt, have that 134 mentality. We'll hear from Coach Bryant Vincent tomorrow about the loss and how they move forward from it. But really hoping to see these guys get back on track and make that bowl game, get that 6th win to make it to a bowl game.
Absolutely, and them playing Auburn next week. Hey, I'm not gonna say whose side I'm on, but y'all know where I'm from. I'm gonna just leave it at that. But also, since we're here in Baton Rouge, the atmosphere. I know this was y'all's first time. I just want to hear, how was it? How was Death Valley to y'all in the first game of LSU, a night game? How was it for y'all?
It certainly lived up to the hype for me. The atmosphere was insane, and I can't even imagine how more insane it would have been if LSU would have pulled off the win. What about you?
I tell you what, rain, snow, I hope not snow in Louisiana, but no matter the weather, this was a fantastic fan base. And coming from Missouri as a Mizzou guy, college football games are fun no matter where you go in the SEC, except for Vanderbilt. But here in Baton Rouge, this was fantastic just to see, everybody show up. The student section was fired up, the band, just everybody cheering their guys on. And even once they started to get down, we still saw some passion from it. But the light show, the halftime performance from the band, the Tiger out here live was pretty neat to see. I think I may become a new kind of Tiger fan after coming to Baton Rouge, and I can guarantee this won't be the last time I'll be making a trip down here to watch him play.
All right, so, talking about Vanderbilt, and, LSU has Vanderbilt coming up, suffering a big loss. How did they, they're going to have to come back and get back on the track. You got to get this on fast. I think this was what it was. It was an elimination game, and it was a big loss, and Alabama just completely took it to them. But that is our time here in Baton Rouge from Death Valley. Stay tuned after the break.